Hey guys, it's Daniela Tabois here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this sequin strapless flare dress. So let's begin. So here I'm working with my first drape tutorial that I showcased here on YouTube, the Sweetheart Bodice, and I'm going to link the video for you above so you can go and watch that if you haven't created this bodice for yourself. And the second video is a video for you to learn how to transfer from the drape bodice onto paper. So once you get to that point, you can come back and do this video with the new patterns that fits you. I'm working with this sequence. As you can see, this sequence has a Aztec motif, and it's about 1 yard. Neoprene, that is 2 yards, and as you can see, my quality is mesh. Here I have 1 yard of fusible fabric. The fusible is cotton and it has a glue side. It's a medium weight, and I'm going to be using this for my bodice to give it more body. In this video I use interlocked stretch lining, but I recommend non-stretch lining. Lastly, I have invisible zipper and boning. It's been a while since I've used this pattern, so I don't know how it fits anymore. So I'm going to go and drape it to see how it fits. So I'm cutting it out on muslin fabric so I can test it out. So you want to do that if you already have the pattern. If you don't, you can start from scratch. So here I'm putting it together, and I'm sewing it down so I can go and fit it on my dress form. So here I'm putting on my dress form inside out so I can better shape it, and I'm pinning it from the back, and then I'm going to look at it from the front to see how it's shaped. Now I don't like the way it fits on top, or I want it to be more close to the body, so I'm going to go and reshape that. So here I'm basically deciding which side I would like to work with. I usually work with the left side. I'm going to start shaping the princess seam. So here I decided that I wanted to bring down my neckline. I want it to be a little bit lower. It's too high, so I'm going to come down about 1 inch from the top and just, reshape that neckline. Then once I reshape my princess seam, I'm going to go and mark it up into how I want it and make my adjustments as I go along. I'm going to cut away the excess at the top and reshape and mark the bust area. I want to make sure it fits nice, so I'm going to take my time with this. And once you have everything completed, if you like the way it looks, then it will finally look like this. Now it's perfect. Okay, so now I'm taking it back. I'm going to use only one side of my bodice. As you can see, I'm going to use the side that I draped, and the other way I'm going to disregard it because I didn't do nothing on that side. So here I'm going to reshape that line that I created while I was draping and fitting the bodice, and I'm going to do that for both the side panel and the center front panel. And then I'm going to trim away all that excess of fabric. So right now it does not have no seam allowance, so I'm going to just trim that all away and transfer it onto paper. So here I got my pattern paper. I'm going to place my patterns onto my pattern paper, and I'm going to take my ruler and draw my center front line. I'm going to place the center front of the bodice onto the fold line and copy the whole pattern. Here I'm using my hip curve ruler just to reshape the line and clean everything up, make it more nice and neat. And then I'm going to add my 1/2 inch at that princess seam. Also, since I didn't have a seam allowance at my neckline, I'm going to add that 1/2 inch as well. And I'm just marking my green line on my pattern. So I'm going to do the same thing for the front side panel. I'm going to add my 1/2 inch at the princess seam and at the neckline of that side panel, and draw in my 1/2 inch at the side seam of that side panel. For the rest of the back panels, I'm just going to go and recopy them. I don't need to do anything else besides just copy. So once I have all that complete, it will look like this. I'm going to transfer it onto fabric now. I do recommend you to test yours on a test fabric before you cut it on the actual fabric. So here I went ahead and cut it on fabric. As you can see, the center front is cut on the fold, and I also cut out my fusible as well. So now I'm going to get ready to place my fusible on the sequin patterns, and I'm going to use hot iron to iron it on. and this will help to give the bodice a more body and more firmness to it. So I'm going to repeat the process for all other panels, and it will look like this. All of it all infused. Once I have everything infused, it's time for me to go ahead and put them together so I can stitch them down. So here I pinned it together to see how it looks. I want everything to be aligned. Also, if you're using a novelty fabric and it has like striping details, try to make sure that you aligned everything together. I had a problem with my fabric. I didn't make sure that it was all aligned also on the back side when I cut, so the back is a little bit off, as you can see here on one side of the panel, which kind of irks me, but it is what it is. It's a sample. So here I measured my waist. Now I'm going to get ready to transfer the waist measurements onto my skirt portion of the dress. So here I'm taking my neoprene, I folded selvage to selvage, and I measured across to see how wide my fabric was. My fabric was 60, so I'm going to measure down against the fold, 30 inches as well, and then fold it in half to create 2 sets of skirts. So here, as you can see, it's folded down and it's folded on the fold, which says 2 folds now, and I'm going to cut it straight across. So at the corner, I'm going to create my waistline measurement. In order for you to get the waist measurement, you have to divide your waist measurement that you took on your bodice and divide that by 4. So mine was 28, so I divided that by 4 and it gave me 7. From the edge, I'm going to come down 4.5 to create my curve. Now you have to determine how much you need to come down with your measurements. And then once I come down, I'm going to start placing pins there to mark my waist. I also took my measuring tape to measure the curve to see if it's actually 7 inches. And if it is, great. Next, I'm going to mark it with my marking chalk. So since the pins are in place, I'm just going to mark that up. Once I'm finished marking my waistline, I'm going to come up 1/2 inch to cut my waistline out. And here's the circle that came off for the waistline. I'm going to keep that for later on in the video. So here you have to decide how long you want your skirt to be. I wanted it to be the full length of how much I can get it out of this box. So whatever measurements that I got from the waistline to the edge is what I'm going to measure throughout the whole pattern. So I'm going to follow it at the waistline and take it all the way around and then place my mark and cut out the skirt. Now you should have a skirt here. Here I refolded it on the side just to make sure that both ends are even. Whatever excess that's hanging from the edge, I'm going to trim away. And then open it up, and it's going to be like a full circle, but instead I'm going to cut it in half again so I can have one that's cut on the fold, and then I'm going to cut the other skirt on the fold again so I can have 2 portions of my back and 1 in the front. So this is the front portion of my skirt. I'm going to cut it again for the other one, and I have 2 pieces for my back portion. So a total of 3 pieces. Now I did the same thing all over again, about 9 inches long, and created 2 more shorter circle skirt, and that will be an overlay part. Here is the waist of the little circle that was cut out at the waistline. I'm going to use this as a stencil, so I found a cardboard and just retraced that little piece, and this stencil is going to be used as the scallop edge on the bottom of my skirt. So here I'm taking my marking chalk, and on the wrong side of the fabric I'm going to go and just start marking the edge to give me the scallop shape. Be as neat as possible, and once you have all of it marked up, it will look like this, and then you want to go ahead and cut it out. Now once you complete with that, you want to go ahead and do the same thing for all other pieces. Here I did it for the upper part of the skirt. Now I decided that I wanted to bind my edge. You can do this, this is optional. I took the binding and I added at the bottom just to give me a more contrast, clean look. You can do this if you like. If you don't, you can leave it raw as you've seen before. So now I'm gonna sew the side seams of the panels of the skirt, and that was the top part of the skirt and the bottom part of the skirt, which is the longer part. And I'm gonna sew up the side seams. And once that's complete, now it's time for me to layer the other piece on top, which is like a peplum type skirt circle part. And then I'm gonna add and connect my bodice to the skirt now. So here I'm pinning all three pieces together and getting them ready to be stitched together. So here you see me stitching it in place. And voila, it is complete. So this is what it is right now. Now it's time for me to insert my zipper. I'm inserting an invisible zipper, and right now the back is separated. I like to do that so I can align the zipper before I close the back seam. Here is the zipper installed, and I'm going to close the back seam. So right now I'm going to cut out my lining, which I place my patterns on the stretch lining fabric and put everything together. So this is what it looks like on the inside. And this is what it looks like on the outside. So here you can see that I put the hanger loops at the side seam, and I also put this elastic rubber trim on the inside, and this trim is to help hold the bodice against the skin so it won't be gliding down or falling down on your body when you wear it. And now I'm going to go and stitch the seam allowance so I can create a casing for my boning. So here, as you can see, it's stitched, and now I prepared my boning to add in the casing of the bodice. So here now I'm going to connect it at the neckline. I'm going to sew it all the way down, and then once it's finished stitched, I'm going to come in at the neckline at the center front where it curves and kind of slash into the fabric so I can ease that curve, so it can help create a nice curve when I turn it back. And here, before I close my lining, I'm going to push all seam allowance towards the lining and sew a top stitch of 1/8 of an inch on top of the lining so everything can stay down. Once that's complete, it will look like this, and then I'm going to iron the neckline down. And then your dress is complete once you close your lining and you're ready to wear. And that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you're new to this channel, please subscribe for more videos like this. Also, I do share high-end sewing tutorials and couture level work on my Patreon. Head over there to learn more and become a subscriber. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.